nephew, Carmelo Anthony, is one step closer to obtaining the justice that he so rightfully deserves.
I get that you want an appeal to support a young man, but he killed somebody. And because he killed a white boy, and because he killed a white boy, and because he killed a white boy, y'all don't care. And y'all out rallying for justice. Justice is served. He killed somebody for no mother freaking reason.
All right, all praise to our Heavenly Father, the Most High Yah, the great I am that I am. In the name of our Lord Savior. Some of y'all call me Ocean. Some of y'all call me Awashai. Some of y'all call me Yeshua. Some of y'all call him Jesus. All right, so as you can see, SuperCoon is at it again, right? The bottom line is, and y'all going to see, he comes right out and, he puts a video out where he's talking about, the Carmelo, the fact that, they recused the judge and all this type of stuff that, now Carmelo, all this information is coming out about, the Metcalf twins, he goes right back, grab hold to all this stuff that they're saying about Carmelo and those text messages that Carmelo had, right? But, regardless, the defense and the prosecution came up with a little agreement, a gentleman's agreement, whatever, in which they basically, agreed to try to keep Carmelo off the stand for him to testify on his defense. Now, the hypocrisy of this guy is off the chains, because right now he's talking about Carmelo killed somebody, but right now you just run into the defense of some kids. You don't know whether or not, what happened in the Nolan Wills, but because they told you they didn't do it, you sitting up here being the great defense advocate, right? When you ain't got nothing to do with it. You're just supposed to be an unbiased journalist. But what he is, he's biased against his own people, right? And they got a, term for that. So let's go and examine that, and then we'll get back into some of these videos. All right. So as you go into AI overview, you know what? This condition that Tatum has is clearly called internalized racism, right? It occurs when people from marginalized racial groups, like African Americans, Negroes, unconsciously accept and absorb negative social stereotypes, biases, or beliefs about their own racial or ethnic group. It leads to self-devaluation, a sense of inferiority, and the eternal adoption of dominant culture standards as the universal norm. Now, basically what we all call that is cooning, right? This is just a fancy way to say it's coon behavior, right? How it manifests: self-devaluation, believing one's own group is less capable, intelligent, or worthy than the dominant group. So y'all going to hear this, later on. This is why I want y'all to make sure we get this definition so we can diagnose this coon, right? Beauty standards, rejecting natural ethnic features in favor of Eurocentric standards, such as evaluating lighter skin or specific hair textures. Behavioral shifts, changing speech, mannerism, or appearance, code switching to avoid looking too ethnic or to gain acceptance. Intra-group judgment, directing racial biases, skepticism, or criticism toward members of one's own racial or ethnic community, right? Impact and origins. It is not an individual's personal failing, but a learned psychological response to living in a society shaped by historical and systemic racism. So you see, they basically saying this guy's a victim. He don't even know it. He's a victim. Mental health, linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, chronic stress, and low self-esteem. You see? Physical health. Research increasingly connects high levels of chronic stress from internalized oppression to negative physical health outcomes like hypertension. All right? So, y'all see, now we got this basically out here, what's wrong with, one old Tatum, right? This cooning is not good for your health. But anyway, now let's go back and look at some more of these videos.
We've had people try it, review it, and the feedback has been absolutely amazing. Whether you choose guilty or not guilty, you're getting a premium bourbon with flavor, style, and a brand that stands out. Not Guilty has the smooth sweetness people love, and Guilty brings the bold, classic bourbon character. All you gotta do is go to verdictbourbon.com, plead your age, and face the verdict for yourself. You must be 21 and older. Please drink responsibly.
Now, the only reason I left that Coons product, in the video was just so y'all can see, and needless to say, all of them lawyers, for in the Nolan Wells case, and the Nolan Wells supposedly friends, they've been peddling his, people have busted him online that, the lawyers had a bottle of Verdict, his bourbon, Coon bourbon, right, sitting in their background, on the shelf. And you'll see it as we get into the video. You see he got it. So here you are sitting up here with an I Love Jesus hat, right? Knowing that, alcohol has been many vices for a lot of people. Now, I'm not saying that people can't drink. The Bible don't say you can't drink, but, and he says to drink responsibly. But, bro, how you got us sitting up here with an I Love Jesus hat on, and you sitting up here, peddling hard liquor, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, these K's always have this coon doing anything they want him to do, right? Knowing how a lot of people in the church feel about drinking, right? But here he gonna sit up here, peddling guilty and not guilty. That's the name of your. You're supposed to be a Christian, dude, right? If you're guilty, why are you? You know what I'm saying? You're guilty of doing a crime. That'd be like be saying you're guilty of sin, right? Breaking the law, and you sitting up here, making a product out of it to sell it. What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? You can see this guy will do anything for money, right? So we already see he's bought and paid for it. You sitting up here, calling yourself a Christian, sitting up here peddling, hard liquor, right? I mean, you just can't make this stuff up, right? But anyway, let's go back and look at some more of this coon behavior, right? But we're going to get into some more of, what this latest development with the Carmelo Anthony stuff. Really, that's really why I'm doing this video. Oh, SuperCoon, he's just something to laugh at this point. He's a joke, right? But anyway, let's go back to the video.
All right, let's get to Carmelo Anthony, an update in this case. It appears that the judge that presided over the original case has recused himself.
Wait a minute, SuperCoon. Now, we already see this guy is a liar, right? What does it say? Y'all see 4 articles. Judge removed from Carmelo Anthony murder case during bid for new trial, right? Trial judge removed from Carmelo Anthony case as teen seeks new trial. Trial judge recused from Carmelo Anthony's appeal in Austin Metcalf murder case, right? You don't see anything about Judge Roach recusing himself. That's a lie. So when we go down here, what does it say? Why was Judge Roach recused? Collin County Judge John Roach Jr. was recused from the post-trial appeal proceedings for Carmelo Anthony because of a post-verdict media interview. Visiting Judge Sid Hall ruled that Roach's public comments endorsing the jury's guilty verdict and defending the trial's fairness created an appearance of bias to a reasonable member of the public, even though Roach could still act fairly, right? So the bottom line is, that's the reason why he was recused. He didn't recuse himself. You see, the judge basically recused him. So, SuperCoon is caught in a lie already. But let's go back and listen to some more of his nonsense.
And what I will say is that I can't do nothing but be honest with you guys. Black people as a whole, like a group, not individuals. There's individuals that have always, in the history of this nation, have been individuals that have done incredible things, that have been incredible, smart, exceptional, changed the world, add value, all of that. Individuals. As a group, Black people are the most dysfunctional group of people, the most ignorant group of people, the most anti-American group of people that I've ever seen. It is asinine for me that you look at any comment section, majority Black people, not all, but the majority of them is crying over Carmelo Anthony as if he didn't do nothing. Now, I wouldn't say nothing if white folks had a white boy stab somebody to death and they all rallying and wearing purple and get justice for Tyson. You're not gonna see that. Because I get that you want an appeal to support a young man, but he killed somebody. And because he killed a white boy, y'all don't care. And y'all out rallying for justice. Justice is served. He killed somebody for no mother freaking reason. They're at a track meet. They get into an argument. He stabbed somebody in the heart. He deserved to go to jail. But because he Black, And the melanated people, I don't know if slavery did it or what. Common sense just do not exist.
But because they black, it's super cool. Super cool is hot, but super cool don't like y'all out here protesting. Super cool wants you to shut up. Super cool wants you to go along with Massa. You know what I'm saying? Massa Weesby sick. These ninjas is out here, and they just gonna keep on supporting that boy that killed that white boy. You see what I'm saying? I mean, this guy is off the chain, right? But you see where, it's internalized racism, right? Because, he's basically like, oh, there's a couple exceptions to blacks, being ignorant and dumb, right? Like myself and my verdict bourbon back here, you know what I'm saying? So, he can call himself, make himself think he's not in part of the group. You see how he refers to black people as y'all. That's not me, master. That's not with them, right? This guy is so dang far gone, it's ridiculous, right? Now, he sit up there talking about, well, black people have to get out here and protest and all this stuff to get a fair trial. Meanwhile, we see in the Nolan Wells case, what did they do, right? Hey, Charles, my boy out here, got this boat, whatever, I need you, to cancel that CETO call, blah, 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 blah. They get in and talk to, the judge get there to talk to, medical examiner and all this type of stuff. They don't have to protest, Dodo Bird, right? Because they are the ones in power. So, of course, what do you think these people do? These people run around here dropping bombs on people, right? You sit up here and stand with, this fake state of Israel, and you'll sit up here and basically coon for them, They over here killing Palestinians in mass, right? And you sit up here and saying, oh, well, you know what? Those daggone Palestinians, they went and attacked these Jewish people who just came down here, and they got a right to just turn that whole place into a parking lot. That's what you said, right? So as you see, you advocate for white people to do violence against people of color. You advocate for that. You will stand with them every single time. But when it comes to somebody of color defending themselves, trying to protect themselves from aggressive, white behavior, what do? You sit up here and take the side of the oppressor. Internalize racism. That's what the definition is. That's what you have, SuperCoon. But anyway, let's go back and listen to some more of his coonery.
Roll it.
I'm Eden Shekel. Thanks for joining us. The judge who presided over the Carmelo Anthony case in Collin County was recused today. A new judge will take over tomorrow for Anthony's appeal hearing. The 19-year-old was convicted of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison back in June for the 2025 Frisco track meet stabbing of Austin Metcalf. And today's ruling is considered to be a win for Anthony. Fox 4's Alex Boyer was inside of the courtroom and has details on what's next. Alex.
Hi, Eden. Yeah, certainly a win for Carmelo Anthony today as his legal team pushes forward for a new trial. As we now know, Judge Roach is now out, and a new judge who has yet to be identified will take over this high-profile case from here. Now, like before, no cameras were allowed inside of the courtroom for this morning's hearing. Carmelo Anthony was wearing a green prison jumpsuit and handcuffs initially when he was brought in by the bailiffs. His hair cropped short. Anthony, who is now 19 years old, convicted of the murder of Austin Metcalf back in June and sentenced to 35 years in prison after a jury had rejected his claims of self-defense during a confrontation with Metcalf at a school track meet last year. Now, Anthony's legal team, led by Russell Wilson, argued this morning that a retrial was warranted in part because Judge Roach enforced overly strict courtroom rules, which really limited public access, and also gave a TV interview 2 days after the trial was over and well within the window for an appeal to be filed. Now, the judge sided with the defense and ordered that Judge Roach be recused. That led to cheers outside of the courtroom by dozens of...
The only reason that this is even happening is because it's black folks out here protesting and these corny, weird white people who feel like they have a debt to black people in perpetuity are going to do something they would never do for anybody else. Overly strict rules in the courtroom Carmelo stabbed a kid in the chest. There is no justification for stabbing somebody in the chest who was unarmed. Especially when what is your argument? Self-defense? Self-defense has to be proportional. A person can't come up to me and I initiated it because I'm under a tent I'm not supposed to be. I get confronted, and because the person, I don't want to fight, I get to stab the person. A deadly weapon is a deadly weapon no matter what. Carmelo stabbing him or shooting him is the same thing. He utilized a deadly weapon to kill somebody. So you can't just shoot somebody because they tell you to move and you don't want to move. It's witness statements from kids who were black and other kids who were there at the track meet said that Carmelo Anthony was the aggressor. But because these silly, spineless white people feel like that they got to capitulate to black fake suffrage, that they allow foolery to happen.
Corny, weird white people, silly, spineless white people who feel, so guilt-ridden that they got to capitulate to these blacks, right? This is what he said, right? You can't make this stuff up. Now, did y'all see the internalized racism, right? He's sitting up here now going to talk trash against, white folks. He's so mad at them for that judge being recused. He's so mad, he going to sit up here and call white people silly and spineless and all kinds of stuff, right? Now you want to talk about Carmelo, he's not supposed to escalate self-defense. But Coon, did you forget that you went up there and stood with these Jewish people? And did you forget that you said, you know what? You stand with your Jewish brothers and sisters. And the fact that, Hamas went there and killed 1,000 people, that they should have turned that to a parking lot, right? You justified them bombing children and women, shooting children in the head, killing babies and infants. You're talking about escalating? You know what I'm saying? I didn't see Hamas coming over there dropping bombs, on Israeli settlements. I didn't see that. Not to mention the Israelis came there into the land that they was already living in, right? And you, silly coon, are running around here saying it was okay for these people they had a right to defend themselves. You told another lie when you said that Carmelo was the aggressor. Carmelo was sitting there. We see it all on video. He was sitting there before they even came to the tent. And when they came to the tent, he never moved. They moved towards him. They came to him. So how was he the aggressor? He wasn't the aggressor, right? But you, silly coon, will continue to tell a lie because you have internalized racism. You hate your own. You think that you're superior to us because they have accepted you into what you think is elite white America. But what you don't understand, silly coon, they know that you are a betrayer. They know they can't trust you. Because if you will turn on your own, put you in the right situation, they know you will turn on them. So right now they're just using you. And why are they using you? And you see, you are there to make everybody, all these black Americans despise conservative Christianity. And you're only going to get away with that for a short period of time before the Most High is going to get you. Because what you're trying to do is turn his children back from accepting Christ. Because you are a poor, piss poor representative of Christ, selling bourbon and all this type of crap. And then you have no concern for the poor, for the fatherless, the homeless, right? You advocate, people with power to drop bombs on people and kill people and destroy women and children. And you stand with that. And you go up here and just because you can sell a little bourbon, because these lawyers will promote your little bourbon in the back, put your little bottle there, you're going to sit here and then you're going to try to justify, some children that might literally be murderers, right? You don't know what happened on that island. But because they told you they didn't do it, oh, they didn't do it. I know because they told me. They told me because you think you're a part of the clique. But you're not. You're just being used, SuperCoon. And until you understand that, you don't understand that. Because eventually, one day, they're going to turn on you. Because they already know they can't trust you. You are not trustworthy. But let's go back and listen to some more SuperCoon.
Now, there's in this motion for a new trial, the background reports are being released, and the defense is going first, releasing 20 pages now of Austin Metcalf's behavioral history. Carmelo Anthony was dressed in a suit and tie for this morning's hearing, which began with the defense arguing that efforts by the trial judge and prosecutors to combat threats and deal with disruptions actually prevented Anthony from getting an open and fair trial. But bombshell testimony came this afternoon from Anthony's trial attorney, Mike Howard, about Austin Metcalf's background report that was never presented to the jury. CBS News Texas has also learned new details about Austin Metcalf's background. Metcalf and his brother Hunter were once caught spray painting graffiti, including KKK Kill All Blacks and Heil Hitler, along with the N-word, and were sentenced to 12 months of juvenile probation. Records reveal they reportedly told authorities, "We did some dumb stuff. We did some vandalism." There are several documented instances of Austin using racial slurs in school, and in 2023, Austin was accused of bullying a black student in class. In 2018, while still in elementary school, Austin and his brother were accused of bullying and assaulting a female, which led to his arrest. During an argument in 2024 with another female student, Austin allegedly knocked her to the ground and punched her in the stomach. He was also kicked out of a football game and texted someone later, "I was about to beat the expletive out of those kids." At a previous track meet, when another student alerted Austin that someone not on their team, quote, "behind our bench was talking wild," Austin reportedly replied, "Kill that MF." During the 2023-2024 school year, he received in-school suspension twice. School disciplinary records from April 2022 to May 2024 reveal that Austin reportedly called a teacher the B word and used profanity. He told a school official that he couldn't control it and wasn't aware that it was coming out of his mouth. In 2024, on at least 5 occasions, Austin saw a counselor regarding his anger and rage during a football game. In 2021, he got banned from attending basketball games for a season after yelling profanity at a player. Metcalf also got suspended after he and another student were talking about bringing a gun to school the following day.
Now, y'all heard all of that, right? Now, keep in mind, this is this guy's history. He has a history of doing things, right? And none of that got brought into court. None of it. Considering that him and his brother walked into the tent where Carmelo was already sitting. And then from the video, you can see them go to where Carmelo was, and that's where the confrontation started. Carmelo did not get up and go towards them. They got up and came towards him. So the bottom line is they have an aggressive history of being aggressive to people, yelling out racial slurs, saying all these different things, and yet they portrayed all of this in the media like these were two innocent, well-loved, you know what I'm saying, noble acting athletes who had bright futures ahead of them when actually they were two thugs, right? That's the reason why they kept Hunter off that stand, right? And the bottom line is they didn't want Carmelo to go in there because then you would have been able to bring in, some of his, accomplishments and the type of child he was. Now, they do have some text message that we're going to get into, in a minute, right? That Carmelo was texting all this stuff, and you can't make excuses for what he's done, right? But the bottom line is you see how just even you texting and stuff, and this should be a lesson to all the young people. They'll go in there and get your phone. You in here in your thing thinking it's private. They'll get your phone and they'll get all your messages and you talking reckless. And the bottom line is they'll try to use it against you if you ever get put in that situation. So you always be mindful of the things that you write and you texting, right? Now, with that being said, you see, we're going to go into this next part because Willie D had interviewed Carmelo Anthony's parents. And there was even more that you see. This CBS report that they have, or whoever that was just now that I showed, they didn't put this last part in here, right? And I'm telling you, they still always trying to cover up stuff, right? Because this next part that y'all going to hear is even worse than the things that you just heard. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
So we just wrapped up the first day for the motion for a new trial. So how do you think it went?
It's mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Everything we've noticed, a lot of things about the boys that wasn't sent out to the public. You agree? Based on what was told, the narrative, it hurt us, man. It just made us. It's right now. I'm still. It was so much at that time.
Yeah, it was a lot. It's a lot. Damn, the dude had a penchant for fighting, for violence.
Yes.
Very, very
Never
violent.
put out there.
Yeah, like smacking on his friends or so-called friends, smacking on
Wordings he
folks,
was using.
choking his own mama.
Mama, yeah, that threw me
You
off.
know?
I mean, your mama? I said, man, you got to be different.
Threatening to slap his daddy,
Daddy?
and
Yeah.
he don't do nothing. And this kid right here, like he was a real problem. When I heard all of that stuff, I'm talking about a treasure trove of incidents captured on his phone. It ain't like this is not third-hand knowledge. This is him recording himself in most cases, or passing along text messages.
Yes, and it was very shocking. Like I said, right now, it's so much to take in because it's like, man, what?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody to do that, and how that picture was painted, like it was the perfect angel. I'm just still, like I said, I'm going to shock this to mama.
Yeah.
And you took your mama.
Yeah.
Choked his own mama. You see what I'm saying? None of that came out the whole time. Everybody heard, he supposedly, separated, did something to his father's shoulder, but choked his own mother. Exodus chapter 20 and 12. Now we see why he's no longer here with us, right? Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, right? Commandment with a promise, right? You can't put your hands on your father and your mother and then think that the Most High is not going to take you up out of here, right? Remember, the wages of sin is death, right? You choking your own mother? That's crazy. But anyway, let's go listen to some more of this Willie D interview.
Kayla, how hard was it to hear them in there talking, the prosecutor, Worski, speaking publicly about your son, saying things that you know that are not true?
It was very hard. It was
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah.
It was very hard.
Yeah. So, and as a father, I saw your reaction many, many times. And you it was like you wanted to say something. How hard was it not to say something?
Man, it's hard, man. God is real. That's what I can tell you, man. It was hard.
Yeah.
Based on the temperature we have right now, with like I said, it's like, man,
Yeah.
the things that was revealed, the mindset of these kids, of them, that's what they do.
Yeah.
My kid could have been a dog.
Right.
That's
Right.
what hurts more than anything. Man, as a father, it's like, man, like what do you, as a black father, well, how can you have a conversation with your son? What can you really tell your son?
Yeah. Your new attorneys,
Remarkable.
led by Russell Wilson, knocked it out the park.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
knocked it out the park.
Yes.
How satisfied is it to know that you have the type of representation that you have?
I mean, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really is a blessing.
Being God is real. Like I tell them, man, y'all heaven sent, man. We was a family that was lied. We was thinking about they lied on us. We bought cars, we spent the money, we did all this thing. And think about it, they doing the same thing in Oakland.
Yeah.
Attack their jobs. It's if people don't see this is it's like they have a playbook. Oh, this was going on? All right, it's the play. And everybody know. I got a famous lady telling me this, Titi, I call her Titi. Titi said, man, they know how to stay on task. They know. They stay on code.
Right.
They stay on code. Like the same things happening with Noah. Same thing. They went to their job, they lied about them, saying they blow the money, they this and that. Like, wow.
How do you navigate through those insults and lies? People saying all these untruths. People just saying things that to be a flat out lie. How do you navigate through that and try to maintain some sense of sanity? When you want to just explode.
Man, talking to God, this woman here, me and her, we vent. Like I said, I feel like what the Lil Mo used to say there, I cry, you cry. Man, we grew more than anything. Like, so we lean on each other right now. I lean on family. It's a very hard. It's a hard. It's just hard. Period. Like it's both sides. It's definitely, but it's hard. Even like I said, even with the lies. I mean, we was lied on. We was lied on, and it's just like like I said, it's the same play. It was the same play, and if people don't see the play, is that telling you we can't win for losing?
Right.
Like you think about it, was the exact same play. They went after their family, went after their job, said they purchased it. They said we did it too. We can't work. Our reputations are ruined. Like with my situation, it's like it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, that's the playbook. You're right. That's what they do. They, create chaos and then play the victim.
Everything that father said was true, right? And we see the play even with coons like Jason Whitlock and with Officer Tatum. You see, they are there as a position to basically turn everything into be Christian conservative is doing this, right? See, that's the play. Play was, you know what I mean? Oh, we're gonna these black people were trying to fund whatever. We got to shut that down, right? So then they basically told lies saying, oh, these people are using the money for this and that and this and this. At the same point in time, they're going after the family's jobs and their ability, you know what I mean, to have money to even try to defend their children. You know what I'm saying? In both cases, they done this. And then what did they do online, right? They need somebody to tell white America that blacks are being, oh, they're just being black again. They're just throwing this slavery stuff all up in your face again. Don't fall for that, right? You don't got to, fall for these blacks and their tricks. You know what I mean? They're bad people, right? Jason Whitlock, Officer Tatum, right? But they're doing it as being conservative Christians, right? This is why you got to expose them. This is why I stay on them. Because, see, they come out talking about, oh, well, you know what? I believe in Jesus. Jesus, he loves all and whatever. But then the only people they want to talk about bad behavior is black people, right? You're excusing the oppressor and you're blaming the oppressed, right? This is what they do. And so now you see what that does. It makes, you know what I'm saying, the blacks to run over here to the liberal left, who's basically standing up for their rights, right? And what does that do for us? We go and we stand with the liberal left, but the liberal left is the ones telling us to accept homosexuality, all these daggone things that we ain't supposed to get into. And that's the reason why we get all this stuff on us anyway. The reason why we are oppressed is because of the violations and the rejection of Christ, right? The violations of the law and the rejection of Christ. This is why we have to understand, you know what I mean? They try to, herd us as sheep. You either go to the left or you go over here to the right, right? When the truth of the matter is you got to walk that straight and narrow. You see, you can't be manipulated by these, conservatives telling you, saying that they're Christians when they're not, right? Because they don't stand up for truth, right? So, you know what I mean? You got to take that sheep clothing off of them and you got to expose the wolf, right? These people who do things for money, right? Filthy lucre, right? But then over here on the left, you know what I'm saying? They sit up here and act like, oh, yes, we're so loving of everybody. But you don't want to tell people their sins and their transgressions, right? And so basically you're just telling everybody to come to Christ, and when the praises go up, the blessings come down. People been praising and singing to their lungs. It's burning from the inside. Now all of a sudden, nothing is happening and people don't understand and stop and say why, right? Because they're not teaching you your transgressions. They're not teaching you the error in your way. They're not teaching us that we are the true Israelites. And because we are the true Israelites, we have to repent and do things the Most High's way. We were called to be an example, right? So we're either going to be an example in righteousness by obeying and crying out to the Most High, or we're going to be an example in unrighteousness and being oppressed by our oppressors until we cry out and say, Father, you know what? We have sinned, forgive us. This is the dilemma that we are in this country. And this is why these people keep playing these games with us. But you see, when we get out here and start telling it and exposing it, that's the reason why they come after our channels, right? They try to shut down our numbers. They try to do all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, they'll push Whitlock or they'll push these leftists, right? Because they always trying to sow division, because we know deep down who the real people are who's controlling both sides. These Jewish people who basically are running everything and are against Christians. These dumb Christians don't even understand. They got you believing a lie because they are not the true people. They got you supporting the synagogue of Satan instead of you supporting the true Israelites, because you don't support the true Israelites, because you want to put your hands on us, because you want to lie on us and do all those type of things. The curse is on you. Because see, now they're telling you, they taught you all that time. You know, whoever blesses Israel is blessed. Whoever curses Israel is cursed. Now, all of a sudden, white people are saying, well, they're not really Israel, so well, what is all this about, right? You should have figured that out a long time ago. You've been blessing them all this time. And the bottom line is, you know what I mean, your country has deteriorated right before your eyes. So you should have been going back and saying, well, wait a minute. They're not the Israelites. Who are the Israelites? The Bible tells us that we'd be able to tell who the Israelites is based off of the curse of the law, right? Who got put on slave ships and scattered all over the world? Who had yokes of iron on their necks? Whose children was yanked from their arms and sold at auction blocks and all this type of stuff? Who had that happen to? Y'all know who that happened to. But see, dumb coons like this one, Officer Tatum, sit here and tell you that the Jewish people are those people that are paying him, right? The synagogue of Satan. Remember, he sat up here and interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu, and yet he wants to sit up here and tell people about what's right and what's wrong. That man is guilty of the bloodshed of innocence. They're bombing hospitals and schools and everything else, and Tatum interviewed that man, right? And didn't say anything to him about him repenting for shedding innocent blood. Didn't say a word, right? So this is where we got to understand who we're dealing with. Now, you know what I'm saying? And don't let these people get into your emotions. That's what they try to do, right? You got to stay calm in all this. You got to continue to pray. You got to continue to cry out to the Most High. All of these things must be, but the end is coming. And when it comes, they're going to be the ones that's crying. They're going to be the ones that's sitting up here saying, oh, Lord, please have mercy, because their day of ruling is coming to an end. Those days are numbered, right? So we just have to understand these things and to continue, you know what I'm saying, seeking and crying out to the Most High Yah and acknowledging our sins and our transgressions. But now let's go back, and now y'all going to see this hypocrisy here of Tatum, right? This is part where you're going to hear, right? All this stuff is coming out with the Metcalfs. Then, you know what I mean, that stuff with Carmelo. You're going to see this, right? And these text messages that they're pulling from Carmelo is to try to neutralize, this stuff that they know about these Metcalf twins. So they're still using the media trying to, you know what I'm saying, trying to keep this man locked up and put him in jail and don't want him let him out, but when they know it was self-defense. They attacked him. He did not attack them. But anyway, let's go back and listen to some more SuperCoon.
If the boy in the race, to me, don't matter. You stab somebody in the chest at a track meet, you shouldn't have had a knife, and you cannot justify a use of disproportionate amount of force, and you can't justify acting as if you needed to self-defend. You go to jail. You get time in jail. You kill somebody's kid. That's race aside. When you add race into it, you add ignorance into it. Because now the person who should be going to jail for killing the person for no real reason got this going on. Roll the clip.
Carmelo Anthony supporters who listened into the proceedings from an overflow courtroom and then marched and chanted outside here in the parking lot. I spoke with Pastor Freddie Haynes about the outcome.
Remain hopeful and prayerful that justice is indeed served. We are not insensitive to the fact that a life was lost, but we also don't believe that two lives should be lost through injustice. I'm blessed to have the family to want me to serve as kind of a pastor to pray for them, and he's paying a price right now. A life was lost. So he is paying a price. I don't think that should go without being stated.
So Metcalf's family, who of course was also in the courtroom today, appeared stunned and obviously disappointed by the ruling. They did not have any comment as they left the courtroom. Now keep in mind that this is just step one. Tomorrow, the new judge, who again has not yet been identified, will ultimately hear arguments from Anthony's same legal team, who is here today asking for a new trial, raising constitutional and legal challenges to the original trial. I, of course, will be here for that hearing as well.
Like I said, they out here doing this, but they won't do nothing when other young black men are killing each other, and they're not getting justice either. That's the part that bothers me, is the selective outrage and the selective support. Young black men are laying dead in the streets every weekend, and nobody's snitching, and their family don't have any justice. They just got killed, and nobody cares. And black people don't rally together and get on the doorsteps and wear all purple for anybody else. They only know how to support people that they believe had racial animus involved. And they're too stupid to understand if it's racial or not. So just because he's white, and people get mad at me and they go, Bernie, you do. No, I love good, smart black people. But the dumb ends irritate me. I can't stand black people like this. I can't stand the pure ignorance.
You see, he thinks he's special. He thinks he's somebody different, right? You see why, when they tell you knowledge puffs you up, he thinks he's, any different than, these dumb ends and all this type of stuff. Buddy, you sat here, and interviewed somebody who's been dropping bombs, right? That's the reason why I don't get off of him. Because I know who's really, pulling his strings, right? That's why I'm trying to tell y'all. You know what I mean? If you really get upset about it and he keeps upsetting you, go in there and say, why you got this smoke for Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Put that in this chat, Yeah, what about Benjamin Netanyahu? You got so much selective outrage. He shed the bloods of innocents, right? Go over there and tell him that he needs to repent. Go over there and tell him that he's wrong, right? Why don't you stand up for the innocent Palestinians who are being killed by this monster? But you won't say nothing. You ain't gonna say nothing because they'll come and shut all your stuff down, and half of the little people, your producers on your show and all that kind of stuff, are Jewish people, right? So yeah, they want you to speak against us being the true Israelites. They want, for you to turn white America against us. They want you to do that. You're doing their bidding, and you think we're too stupid to see it. You ain't as smart as you think you are, Coon, right? We know you got internalized racism, right? They know it. That's why they tapped you on the shoulder. That's why they put you into the club that you think you belong to. But guess what? Sooner or later, they're going to show you. It's only a matter of time because you can't be trusted. Your own people don't trust you. What makes you think other people are going to trust you? They won't. Let's go listen to some more of the coonery.
Look at what they doing. Roll it.
Y'all, our nephew Carmelo Anthony is one step closer to obtaining the justice that he so rightfully deserves. This crinkle-faced, decrepit judge, John Roach, was recused from any further proceedings pertaining to the Carmelo Anthony case. I'm so proud of our people, too. We really showed up and showed out in numbers for Carmelo today, and hopefully we're able to do the same thing tomorrow. Now, it's still an uphill battle. Just to remind y'all, today we were going after the motion to recuse Judge John Roach over his allegations of bias, which we got the win for that. Tomorrow, there's going to be a hearing on the motion for a new trial. Hopefully, they're able to throw those bogus 35 years out and grant this baby the justice that he deserves. Justice for Carmelo. We're rooting for you, baby boy.
All right. The low vibration of black stupidity is bothering me. Well, one thing is that we throw the bogus 35 years out. They could have given him life. An all-white jury, y'all claim, gave him 35 years instead of life in prison. I feel like they gave him a fair middle ground assessment. But when you're stupid and you don't understand the law, you're just willing to say whatever. A judge recusing himself, in my opinion, they should have just said, no, you don't need to recuse yourself. People need to get over it. But if they did recuse himself, that don't change the law. That don't mean that you get another judge that's going to say, oh, I'm just going to do something different in the law. Either he broke the law or he didn't. According to the statute, he broke the law. There is plenty of white people, white cops, that many believe have been done unjustly. You don't see them out here protesting and acting up in justice for so-and-so. I feel like white people have the maturity and IQ to diagnose if a person has done something wrong. Majority of them can see that person is wrong. That person is wrong. Y'all don't have a filter. Every black person that's ever been killed by a white person is always right. It's literally, I don't know what happened. And we can't blame slavery forever. So it's something in the 60s that happened to black people to make them so ignorant like this. If your protest was effective, your numbers will be way up here. But your homicide numbers are up here as far as per capita higher than anybody else. Abortions higher than anybody else. Poverty, number one. Baby, y'all number one. You want to go down the list? Education, go to some of these black schools. Y'all should be protesting in front of these schools. Kids can't read. Y'all cool with that. But justice for Carmelo, but your kids can't even read at the school Carmelo went to. Lord Jesus.
Y'all hear it? Baby, y'all are number one. Y'all's kids, right? Coon, do you check? If you looked in the mirror, you ain't white. I'm with you. What you mean, y'all? You should have been saying we, right? Because you're still part of the group, whether you want to believe it or not. You see what I'm saying? Bottom line is you run around here talking about y'all as if you one of them. You ain't, right? You got an identity crisis going on there, sir. You don't even got a clue. You know what I mean? Talk about the majority of them, they can whatever. Well, if they were so loving and kind, how did we end up over here on slave ships? How do we end up here, you know what I mean, with yokes of iron on our neck? Huh? Why, did they tell us that we was 3/5 of a man? Right? Why are they throwing people in jail? Why was they discriminating? Why was Jim Crow laws passed? If they were so loving, right? But see, we got enough compassion in us not to blame all white people for that. You know what I'm saying? But you sit up here and say the majority of them, as if, it wasn't the majority of them people that was taught to be racist and to be prejudiced and to be, against us. It was systematic, right? They taught them hate. They taught them to hate people like you, right? But you think that because you didn't got embraced in and probably, went to that officer training school where they trained you to hate your own people, then all of a sudden tapped you on the shoulder because you was really good at hating your own people. Now all of a sudden you say y'all. You don't say we. You say y'all, right? Because you are now officially think that you're not a part of this group. But when you go over there and talk about Israel, right? You stood up there and talked to them and you said, my brothers and sisters. That's what you said. So you are officially part of the synagogue of Satan. So you are who you are, right? We know who you are. So you got internalized racism. That's your issue. Anyway, let's go back and listen to some more of this.
Now, does that mean he deserved to die? No, that's up to God to decide who deserves to die or not. But I'm going to get to the criminal element of this after we talk about Carmelo Anthony. Because Carmelo Anthony it's actually worse. When I heard what happened to Austin Metcalf, I said, oh, that kid is terrible. Carmelo Anthony, I didn't think he was really that bad. I thought he was an ignorant young boy with hatred in his mind and made a impulse decision to kill Austin Metcalf on that day, not realizing that he was worse. He don't look to me like he did none of this stuff that I'm about to show you. Roll the clip.
But the never-before-released details of Anthony's early years in Louisiana up to the day of his arrest for murder are also disturbing. On the day that Carmelo Anthony would fatally stab Austin Metcalf, prosecutors say he sent this text message at 1 a.m., which said, quote, "I'm low-key on the verge," and then emphasized it. Later in the morning, on April 2nd, 2025, and hours before Anthony would kill Metcalf with a knife at a high school track meet, prosecutors say Anthony's girlfriend reported to a Centennial High School staff member that Anthony was engaging in stalking behavior, to include but not limited to driving by her home and refusing to allow her to end their relationship. Also, in the 75-page filing, prosecutors say Anthony had previously been accused of stealing his girlfriend's phone, and in October 2024 wrote a to-do list for his girlfriend about how to deal with, quote, weirdos, which included the line, "Say some slick, like my boyfriend, kill people." There are also text messages where he admits on at least 2 occasions to punching girls in the face. Prosecutors also found text messages from 2021 between Anthony and another student about robbing someone of $300. There are also text messages where Anthony talks about a fight and punching someone so hard he had to stop fighting. In 2023, prosecutors say Anthony told a friend he was going to vandalize someone's house in Austin, saying, quote, "I just feel like it. I got a grudge." In 2021, Anthony told a friend he had been suspended from school for 3 days for fighting, saying, quote, "They said next time I do some, I get recommended for expulsion." In a text conversation with a friend in 2023, prosecutors have messages from Anthony where he wrote, "I'ma shoot the school up tomorrow with my blick," but later sends messages saying, "I would never actually do that."
But now y'all see what that is, right? See, that's what I was telling you early on. You could try to, children think that their phones is basically theirs, and they're talking back and forth and saying stuff. Now, the thing about Carmelo, you don't have him on record of doing none of these things. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time, apart from him being suspended in 2021, right, where he actually got into some trouble. But we can see from the video, he was sitting down, minding his business, right? They came there, okay, this is our school tent, you're going to have to get up, right? He doesn't get up. They go over there, and they try to forcibly remove him. That's when the altercation happened. But they was aggressive towards him, right? So the bottom line is, if they didn't go over there and be aggressive toward him, if they didn't like him staying there, they could have went over there and got the coach and say, you know what, we'll get you out of here. We just go tell coach. Matter of fact, go get coach, right? And then if coach would have come over there and said, yeah, okay, you're going to have to leave, young man. Now, if he would have mouthed off at the coach, then it would have been a problem, right? But you see what I'm saying? They had no authority to go over there and try to physically remove anybody. And by doing that, now he had the right to defend himself. You see what I'm saying? Because it was two of them, right? But they don't want to, but Coon don't act like he knows the law, right? But he just wants, to say the things that these Jewish people want white America to feel so that white America will continue to hate us, right? You see what I'm saying? They always got their little dirty hands in something, throwing rocks and then try to act like, oh, well, they hate us too. They say about the Jews. No, y'all, they don't hate you, right? You run everything. They hate you because you sit up here, and have manipulated their society and you running everything and they realizing it's like, wait a minute, we out here doing all this fighting and all this wars and all this type of stuff. And what do we get to show for it? Y'all run everything and now guess what? You got our houses all out of order, right? So this is where they don't like them. But they want to run around here, and keep the divide between the blacks and the whites, right? And until people wake up and understand the play, you're going to continue to fall for this nonsense. But anyway, let's listen to some more of this clown Tatum.
In a 2024 text thread, prosecutors say Anthony admitted to carrying a firearm, telling a friend before a party that he would have the gun in my pocket. There are other message threads where Anthony also mentions carrying a gun.
If you thought that was bad, it gets worse. And I'm going to be fair about this because I had got in trouble when I was young. I got in trouble in high school. I got kicked out of school. And I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to give both of these boys a little bit of leeway. And I'm going to talk about how this affects the trial or not. We got one more, and it gets worse for Carmelo Anthony. Roll it.
After numerous suspensions for fighting while attending school in Louisiana, there are messages between Anthony and his girlfriend after he moved to Frisco. In one message thread, she suggests he should sit for a while, and he replied, "Yeah, and punch people, maybe run sometimes. I have to. It's like a priority for me. I like punching people. When I get mad, I see red. When I get mad, I black out. When I get mad, I can't control myself." Prosecutors also produced messages where Anthony admits to getting high and drinking alcohol and even talking about selling drugs to get guns. In 2024, prosecutors say Anthony even attempted to assault a teacher, saying, "I put my hands and face and everything." Also in 2024, messages obtained by prosecutors suggest Anthony tried to bring a weapon into the State Fair of Texas, asking a friend if the State Fair got metal detectors. When he was told yes, his friend responded, "You got the poker?" "Yeah, I might have to toss it," replied Anthony. Prosecutors say Anthony admitted to stealing a watch and earbuds in separate burglaries in Collin County, and also to bringing a weapon onto a Frisco school campus, saying this about his girlfriend: "She went in my bag to get my computer and I said no, and she still went in it and grabbed it, and my gun and my knife and some other stuff fell out." There are numerous unreleased photos and videos of Anthony holding firearms and making threats, and authorities found a note on Anthony's phone with a long list of disturbing racial tropes and slurs about blacks, whites, and Hispanics. In one message thread, prosecutors say Anthony wrote, "I hate gay people." Prosecutors say Anthony repeatedly threatened to murder his girlfriend in text messages, some of them saying, "How many bullets you want coming out of your chest?" and "I'm going to get you," expletive. He also threatened her with a knife in one message and told her in another, "When I stab somebody, I'm going to lick their blood off the blade."
Now, let's put this in perspective. Kids are stew heads. They say crazy stuff. All of you guys, if you want to be honest, we've all said crazy stuff and we all did all that stuff. We just didn't have cell phones, right? We just didn't have evidence of somebody going and looking at your cell phone. Some of y'all have threatened people and did all this. However, I can say these boys on another level, especially Carmelo Anthony. Austin Metcalf seemed like a troubled kid. Carmelo Anthony seems like a kid that would end up going to prison forever. He brought a gun. He tried to bring a gun into the fair. Now, I'm trying to be fair. I don't want to compare the two, but like I got to be honest. Like Carmelo Anthony's was a little worse.
Y'all see the bias coming out? Carmelo Anthony's was a little bit worse, right? Where's Carmelo on record of ever doing anything of those things that you got him in text messages, even if he said he was going to do it? Where's the record of you ever have him doing all that stuff, right? If he beat up a teacher, if he hit a teacher, he would have been suspended. Right? He would have got in trouble. He got in trouble back in 2021, but not in 2024, right? None of that stuff, 2023, that stuff didn't happen. So now where are you getting all this stuff that, you know what I mean, Carmelo was worse? When these Metcalfs was in trouble and all this stuff and going and having to see therapists and everything. And they the boy choked his mother, right? And word was that, you know what I mean, he hurt his father's shoulder. So, you know, what's really going on? You talking about what's worse? According to the Bible, you dishonor your mother and your father, your day's going to be short, right? So it goes to show you, he don't know anything, call himself a Christian, right? But it just goes to tell you that internalized racism, right? He's biased against his own people. But anyway, let's look at this next clip from Jay Megan over on TikTok, right? Because she basically going to, you know, break all this stuff down and summarize it, and then we'll get out of here.
Talk so far about what has been happening in the Carmelo Anthony hearings and the information they tried oh so hard for us not to hear. We have to acknowledge that the text messages from Carmelo Anthony are not that great for him. Here's the thing that nobody's really talking about when talking about these text messages. These are all things that Carmelo Anthony was telling other people that he had done. Because from what I could tell, other than a single suspension, nothing was really backed up by like police reports. There were no arrests. And if Carmelo was such a problem child, then why was he captain of both the track team, his football team, and had a 3.7 GPA? Frankly, until we get a look at those text messages, they feel like they are all being taken wildly out of context. And let's not forget, this kid was sobbing the entire time after this incident. To me, it sounds like a kid who was trying to act hard at his new school. However, on the flip side, we have a well-documented criminal history, a violent history, and racially motivated acts of vandalism and threats to people's lives. And the most important one, the one fact, in my opinion, that should have outweighed all of the other Carmelo Anthony, like, bad character stuff, was that at a previous track meet, when another student told Austin Metcalf that someone not on their team behind our bench was talking wild, Austin reportedly said, "Unalive that MFer." Conveniently leave out that that student was Hispanic. Austin also had a documented history of attacking people at sporting events. Austin had knocked a girl to the ground and punched her in the stomach. When he was kicked out of a football game, he said he was about to beat the F out of those kids. He received 2 in-school suspensions twice in the year before this happened. Austin told a school official that he couldn't control what he was saying. After an incident at a football game in 2021, he had to see a counselor on 5 separate occasions for his anger issues. And when he was 12 years old, Austin Metcalf was arrested and spent a year on probation after attacking a female 10-year-old black student. One of their histories is way more relevant than the fucking other. And so far in today's today's hearing, Toby Shook, who was the other lawyer for Carmelo Anthony's team, said that the prosecutor was passionate and did not envision Anthony taking the stand in his self-defense claim. Apparently, after defense attorney Mike Howard mentioned that Carmelo was in the chess club, the prosecutor approached them saying that they were kicking the door open. And just prior to Anthony being expected to take the stand, Bill Wersick said he had not envisioned Anthony testifying. What the fuck does that mean? That sounds like code to me. Because remember, the prosecutor and Mike Howard were partners for years. We also learned from Toby Shook today that the prosecutor was the one to approach with the idea of the gentleman's agreement. Just wanted to try the case from what happened under the tent. Now, y'all might remember my video from a while back where I showed that the tent was digitally altered, allegedly. And frankly, it sounds to me like the prosecutor was low-key threatening the defense that if he took the stand, that then they would bring in bad character stuff. Never, ever, ever, ever in any situation should the prosecution have any say on whether a defendant takes the stand in his own defense. In fact, Toby said that his partner, Mike Howard, had to get his questions to Anthony's mother approved by the prosecutor prior to her taking the stand. Again, keep in mind this gentleman's agreement is nothing legally binding. There is no paper, there is no ink involved. It is a nothing burger. My opinion, the defense going to the prosecution and collaborating like this on what questions they asked is absolutely enough right there to show that the defense was not acting in the best interest of their client. For some reason, the prosecutor on this case was the one who was allowed to cross-examine these people, which I think that is weird in itself, but maybe that's just how it's done. However, Shook said that the team had always intended for their client to testify he was acting in self-defense under the tent. And the prosecutor said, "Did I ever say the deal was off?" And Toby Shook said, "Well, I remember you saying this is not part of the agreement," adding that it made him think that the deal was off. Oh, and by the way, that chess comment happened during opening statements, which means the prosecutor didn't bring this up at all during the entire trial until the very last day when Carmelo was about ready to testify. And frankly, I want to hear from the jurors in this case because I want to know, if you had heard these things, would it have changed your opinion? And frankly, I think the school needs to take some fucking accountability because these kids should have been kicked out a long time ago.
All right, so let's close out with these scriptures here. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 17. What do you see? You shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's. And the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. So this is Moses when he was telling the children of Israel about having to judge your neighbor when they done some things wrong, right? Deuteronomy 16 and 19, what does it say? Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, right? So the fact that Tatum, you got, bourbon, and these lawyers who you are working with are advertising your bourbon by putting it in the back, of their screens, right? You know what I mean? So the bottom line is you ain't supposed to be taking no gift. You should have made sure y'all did not have any of that going on, right? Because now it looks like you got a side deal, right? Like they're promoting your bourbon, right? Thou shalt not wrest judgment, thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift. For a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 15, what does it say? You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. And finally, from the Messiah himself, John chapter 7, verse 24. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. All right. So y'all can see, when it all came down to it, what it all boils down is that they did not want Carmelo Anthony to testify in his own defense, right? They made a gentleman agreement between the defense and the prosecution, right? In order to keep him from testifying in his own defense. Now, needless to say, that right there is shady business, right? And just why would you do that? Why would you make that agreement? If you feeling like the case ain't going in your favor as a defense attorney, if worse comes to worse, I'm gonna put you on the stand, right? And so what? They got some text messages. So what? Bottom line is, had he done any of those things? Just him saying, back and forth in some chat or saying whatever, had he done any of those things, right? Whereas the Metcalf twins had done all these things. So if he gets up here and he testifies to what, you know what I mean, actually happened under that tent. And then they go into the character of these, you know, the Metcalfs. Now the bottom line is Hunter would at least have had to come to the stand. And then you could have brought in all that stuff, you know what I mean, between Austin and Hunter, right? The things that they have been done, you know what I mean? And it would have completely put this in a whole totally different light. But you see, all this stuff they did was to cover it up. And Tatum sits here and acts like, you know what, when black people go out here protesting for justice, you know, oh, they're in the wrong, right? But the bottom line is white people don't have to go out here and protest for justice because they can make some calls behind the scenes. And then the next thing you know, they start, you know what I mean, persecuting people at their jobs, doxing people, you know, and then the next thing you know what I mean, they got, you know, judges, lawyers, and all these people involved, right? Because the jails wasn't made to put them in. The jails are made for us. We're the ones that's in captivity. We're the ones that make up the majority of the prison houses because we are, you know, still dealing with the curse of the law until we come to Christ. And this is what's so important about understanding what Coon, Tatum, and Coon, Whitlock, and all these people were doing, right? Trying to take the side of conservative Christianity to frustrate us and make us not want to do anything, you know, have anything to do with Christians, right? They're trying to push us away because they know that if we come to Christ and we accept our atonement, then we can be forgiven for our sins. And now, instead of us being the oppressed, right, you know, the Most High will deal with our oppressors, right? This is why it's important for us to know that we are the true Israelites, you know? And the bottom line is these people have put their hands on the wrong people and they will be judged for what they've done, right? And that's the truth. With that being said, thanks again for watching. The Most High bless each and every one of you. Till we meet again. Shalom.
Though I walk through the valley of death, shadows whisper, still in my breath. The ground feels cold, like it's alive. Each step a battle, just to survive. Though I walk alone through the dark, through the storm, but I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. A light inside, it's my barricade. The trees, they shiver, they bend and creak. The wind, it howls, the future bleak. Yet my heart beats loud, a steady drum. It tells the night I won't succumb. They can't break me, no they won't, no they won't. My soul's on fire, they don't know. Though I walk alone through the dark, through the storm, but I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. A light inside, it's my barricade. Fear is a shadow, it clings to the weed. But I got a voice and I let it speak. Mountains crumble, the skies might fall, but I'll rise up, I'll rise through it all.